So, I partook in the GMTK Game Jam 2025. The team was Lou. Now, it just so happens that I have been working on a game where the player plays the same world multiple times to reach new parts of the world, to unlock new realities, to eventually get to the end of the world. And my next video will be on people playing the game, so stay tuned if that sounds interesting. So, unfortunately, I couldn't use that idea, even though it fitted perfectly. And I wasn't going to do a lesser version of that with each level, as it never crossed my mind. Turns out there was a lot of that level again type games, and some were quite fun. So then what did I do? Well, how about I show you? Before we jump in, I just want to mention that this background is from a different game that is up on Steam, so if you find it interesting, there will be a link for both games in the description. Enjoy. You start the game and are presented with 3 doors. Text appears at the bottom, then a narrator introduces themselves.
Hi, my name is Trick. Anyways, enough about me.
You then pick a door and are now in a new room where there is 2 doors. One of them tells the truth, the other a lie. Now, I didn't get time to, nor did I plan on figuring out how to allow the player to ask one of them a question, especially given that using generative AI was against the rules. But at least I had time to make the narrator notice that the statement made no sense.
Are we meant to be able to ask it a question? Because I don't see any way of inputting stuff. Well, unless there's clues somewhere, I think we just have to guess.
You pick a door and now must choose a hole and hope to pick the right one. And finally, you get to the final room where you get to pick your reward. Now, I didn't actually make a dragon or unicorn sprite, so unfortunately, it just flew away before you could get there.
Dang it, we just missed it.
But I did get the narrator to claim to talk less next time, so that you could be quicker, and then when you press the only option, you look back to the beginning, where you can choose to play again.
If we go again, I'll stop distracting you, and so we can reach the end faster to see it.
Fun game, I know, and a little secret, but it doesn't actually matter which door you go through. They all lead to the same place. But wait, if that's the case, then how does this comment make sense? Or this. Or this. Now, you could just chalk it up to the fact that most people in a game are hesitant to give completely honest feedback due to the fear that the person who's receiving the feedback will retaliate and maliciously rate your game. Now, I wasn't really concerned about that because, well, just look at my game, and I think feedback is important. But there is actually more to this game, and you may have been able to guess it by looking at the main menu. The narrator remembers what choices you previously made. Okay, so if that's the case, then I'd need to account for infinite possibilities, as the player could choose to play infinite amount of rounds and have the narrator continuously say the same thing would ruin the immersion. And by all means, the player can play as many rounds as they want before resetting the narrator, and the narrator will not just recycle stuff previously said for the sake of saying stuff to an extent to where it would ruin the immersion. So how did I do it? By getting the narrator to give up. Now, I couldn't just get the narrator to arbitrarily give up right before he started getting repetitive. People would see right through that, and if players remember that at the start of the game, the narrator is very optimistic.
Hey, that's pretty cool. I remembered what door we went through.
It would seem odd for it to give up at random points. Fortunately, the solution is already present. The game sucking. You see, this game sucks by design, and the narrator will get disappointed the more they realise. If they reach a disappointment of 3, they leave, but it isn't just at the game. Let's say you only choose the same options. After the second go, the narrator may get disappointed because you won't let it see what the game truly has to offer. Now, I haven't really spoiled much about the game up until this point, and there are some quirks I deliberately hid that may even be accessible in the start. However, what I'm about to say next is something I think one person saw, and is probably the best part of the game. So, if we take a look at the last options of doors, you may remember that the tree was next to a non-existent door. And whilst it is relatively clear that the first two brings you to a dragon or a unicorn, and given the fact I'm now bringing attention to it, you may wonder, what happens if you pick 3? Does the game run into a wall revealing sprites, in which case exists an actual double meta game from within the meta narrative based around the structure of the lazily made game, which reveals why the game was rushed and so poorly made? Well, sorta. You get to see a chameleon, but it's invisible. Before you claim I'm being lazy, this chameleon actually exists, as you can see from this image. Now I can't show it because it decided to be invisible, but you can take my word for it. But wait, if the excuse for the game to be replayed with a dragon or a unicorn was that it flew away, what is the excuse for the chameleon? Well, I kind of forgot to have one. But if you manage to visit the chameleon 3 times, then this will happen.
Do you see something that I'm missing? Because, like, to me, the chameleon looks invisible. I thought it even exists. Yet here you are, coming back to it. Again and again. Good for you, I guess.
Wait, the chameleon's real? The chameleon becomes visible. Now, the monologue you get after depends on if the narrator was ever reset or not. Why, you may ask? Well, in order to make the game not a slog, whenever you reset, I had so the narrator forgets his personality and so no longer remembers its name.
My name is... I can't remember. Anyways, enough about me.
Or the fact that he likes spikes and legs, which the chameleon has both. And that would decide whether or not he is happy and stay with the chameleon, or disappointed and give up on the game entirely, regardless of how little disappointed he previously was. I guess once the surprise is revealed, the anticipation no longer matters. I hope you liked this devlog. I was originally planning on going down a path where I reveal more of the game, but instead this happened. There is still a lot to this game, apart from the visible chameleon, which, if you unlock, makes the chameleon appear in the main menu for as long as you don't reset the narrator. And you may find some surprising things. After all, the chameleon part being real wasn't planned until after I thought I was done making the game. Subscribe if you want to, and bye. And it has spikes and legs. This creature's insane.